Hello everyone, welcome to today's Knowledge webinar, introducing Enscape 3.0, architecture, rendering, and VR just a whole lot easier. In fact, if you're here with us, that means you're curious and you want to discover all about the latest version of Enscape. And we will walk through the new features and functions, and you will learn how Enscape is improving the user experience and making real rendering and VR easier and more accessible. Today's webinar presenter, Josh Radle, provides technical support and training, and Enscape is a passionate BIM and rendering expert who has consulted with some of the world's largest AEC companies. Now let me tell you a little bit about Knowledge. Knowledge is changing the way designers purchase 3D software, offering more choices, more freedom, best advice, and faster service. So check us out at knowledge.com, where you can find Enscape and Enscape Companions. And now I'm going to share Daniel's screen.
Sounds good, thank you.
Yeah, take it away.
Great, thank you very much. Thank you, Barbara. Josh and I are super excited to be here today to introduce you to Enscape 3.0. Before we kind of jump into the presentation, I wanted to share some learning resources very quickly. So we put together some very useful information to help you get up and running in 3.0. First, if you have any questions, a great place to start is our new knowledge base. With a simple keyword search, you can find great answers to all of your Enscape questions. To stay in the know, if you're already an existing Enscape customer or thinking of joining the family, the blog is a really great resource. So I encourage you, if you're not already, to subscribe to our blog. And lastly, we're working on producing a new on-demand video training content, and you can find that on our YouTube channel. So those are three really good resources where you can find out more about 3.0, and I really encourage you to check them out. A new look, a new phase. So one of the things you'll notice about Enscape 3.0 is our new look. If you've been on our website or social media, you've already experienced the new branding. And Enscape 3.0 really represents not only an evolution of our product, but also our company, which you'll see reflected in the new look and really our renewed commitment to our users. The new brand reflects Enscape's really successful journey from a fast-growing startup to the leading real-time rendering technology that supports today's building modeling process. And with Enscape 3.0, our focus is on really improving the user experience and making real-time rendering and VR easier and more accessible. And that improvements extend to everything we do, from our website to your interactions with our support team, and then of course the product. It's also reflected in our mission. So our mission is to unleash the creativity of the builders of tomorrow through continuous innovation and accessible design technology. And for us, you can see that accessible is highlighted in this mission. And for us, accessibility is the real core of Enscape and really what makes up our DNA. Today, in many firms, visualization is relegated to specialists using specialty software. And our goal with Enscape is to democratize rendering and visualization, to make it easy and accessible for everyone on the design and construction team so they can use real-time rendering in this next generation of visualization to improve their part of the design process. And it also leads into our new vision. Our vision is to make the built environment tangible before it exists. And this is a bit of a tall order, admittedly, but it's something that we're always trying to pursue. Buildings are getting more complex and schedules are getting shorter, and I think everyone here can recognize that. And if we recognize the challenges, we recognize the challenges that this puts on the entire design and delivery team and on the communities in which we build in and build for. We really want to bring a holistic of understanding as possible to the design, and so that we can understand all aspects of this design before we commit to building it and making it a permanent contribution to our environment. Now, Josh is going to take you through all of the new features in 3.0, but I wanted to highlight some of my favorite improvements and how these strategies are playing into the features and how we think of them as we start to build out our product roadmaps. First is the evolution of Enscape's design environment and the new interface. And this is something that we've been wanting to do for a very long time. It's something that our community has been asking us for a long time. And like our rebrand, the new interface in Enscape 3.0 is more about just a new look. It's really about improving the entire Enscape user experience. When we started this project, we really started with a focus on our users, really trying to understand how people are working with Enscape. And we did this through high level analysis of data usage, how are customers using the software today. We had a lot of direct interactions and engagements with customers. We're listening to people, what they were telling us on our support forum and the questions they were asking our support team. And through a lot of consideration was given to the workflows and how we could change the interface to improve those workflows, to really streamline tasks, to make Enscape easier and faster to use. One of the things that Josh will show you, for example, is that we moved many of the controls from the modeling program, from the CAD program, to the Enscape window so that you could use Enscape in full screen mode as much as possible and limit the switching back and forth between CAD and Enscape, which is really a refreshing experience. The new interface is a big step forward, but it also allows a strong foundation for really some exciting new improvements to come. So it's one that we're very excited to introduce. Second are the new local assets. We have users designing projects all over the world, and providing the right assets lets them contextualize their design by allowing them to tell their story in ways that are appropriate for the building's location, right? So in version 3.0, you'll find 333 new assets, really focusing on with the regional flares. So you'll find kind of iconic assets that, like the New York City taxi cab or the London, famous red phone box, as well as assets that are specific to local regions, like new trees and flowers and shrubs that are typical to various hardiness zones throughout the world. Also important are these new assets. We're really optimized. The team did a fantastic job, and we really optimized these assets for performance. Some of them performing 40% better than similar assets provided by our competition, to make the models light, fast, and perform very, very well. And then last but not least are the improvements to our website redesign. And for this, really, this might be one of my favorite improvements. Now, it's not part of the core Enscape product, but the website's really the best way for us to communicate the benefits that we offer and to engage with our community. The new site is a fantastic resource for all of you out there, whether you're an existing Enscape user or if you've never seen it before. It's really a one-stop shop for all things Enscape. And going back to that point of accessibility, the new website makes learning about Enscape and keeping connected to Enscape easier and more tangible. So that quick introduction of Enscape 3.0 and the new look and the rebrand, I'd like to turn the presentation over to Josh and ask him to walk us through some of the new features in Enscape 3.0 and what makes it such a milestone release.
All right, thanks, Dan. Can everybody see my screen okay?
Yes, we can.
Yep. All right, well, thank you for that. All right, so hello, everybody. First off, so for people that don't know what Enscape is or some of the power that it brings to the table, it's a plugin for SketchUp, ArchiCAD, Rhino, Vectorworks, and obviously Revit. So it's one installer for 5 different programs. So once you install it, today we're going to be looking at it inside of Revit. So once you install Enscape, it'll sit on top of your ribbon up here. So these are all the buttons that are up top here. So in 3.0, we took some of the buttons and functions and moved that over to the Enscape window for a faster, more streamlined workflow. Because previously in 2.9, we'd have to have Enscape open, make our adjustments, and then go back to the design application, change a couple things, and then jump back. It was kind of, so we're really minimizing the clicks that you have to do to get your final image and output. So for those that don't know, to launch Enscape, you simply have to hit the Start Enscape button. I have it open. And what this is going to do, this is going to launch Enscape exactly right where I launched my camera from. So it does have to start from a 3D view here. One of the big things we'll see first is when you launch Enscape 3.0, we'll get this help menu here. So this is very, very useful. I myself have even forgotten a couple of those little features until I saw this, and I was like, hey, that's what these buttons do. Like, I completely forgot, but being able to see that here. So this is telling you basic controls, how to navigate around. If you guys have ever played a computer video game, you'll have really good experience navigating around. So we're going to use the W, A, S, and D keys to move around. And pretty much with my left mouse click, I'm going to click and just move it left and right. That's going to control, basically think that's controlling my head, or that's controlling your eyes, your camera, essentially. And then really powerful feature is the ability to change the time of day. So if I hold down shift and right mouse click, I can scrub all through the different times of day. Another one that, again, I personally forgot was the ability to change the solar angle. So if I go over here, let me get to a good spot. If I hold down Shift, U, and I can change the solar rotation and solar angle of the sun, which again, super powerful, really powerful to really get that nice shot that we're looking for here. If I scroll down here under this toolbar, this is going to tell you the different application modes, toggles. This will tell you a little bit more about what's going on. And if I go one button below this Get Help button, this is also really powerful. So this is essentially going to link you to a couple of those things that Dan spoke about earlier. If you have questions, or if you just need to know a little bit more information about what a tool does, definitely check out our knowledge base. So this will be one click and it'll pop you over to our knowledge base here. And again, it'll give you all the more than enough information that you need about what that tool is doing. Another really great resource, again, that Dan pointed out, is a link to our community forum. So if you've never been in our community forum, I highly encourage you guys to go check it out. It's a phenomenal place to get answers, to get inspired. Definitely check out the showcase page. This is where all of our users can post showcases of their work. And then you can even get application specific as well. So if you have a question in regards to Revit, you can go to our Revit section. You can either post a question or see kind of what some other users are posting questions about. And it's a great way to get answers from a variety of different people from all over the world too. So again, these are all right here in this help menu. So very, very useful. Another thing to note is this home mode. So this is a really cool feature. It's context specific. So whatever mode I am in, so we'll just say the collaboration mode, it'll give you tooltips about anything that this tool is going to do. So again, if I switch between the different modes here, you can see it's changing over here. Again, we wanted to give you guys more than enough upfront information about what all these tools are doing and where to find information about what they do. You can simply close this button. If you close it by accident, to get back to it, you can either hit this button right here, or you can hit H on your keyboard and it'll pop up. So since we're in Enscape right now, and in the Enscape window, we can see all the different buttons we have here now that have moved to the Enscape Viewer. So in our, first off, we're going to do our home mode. So this is essentially our home mode right here. Next up is our collaborative annotation mode, which was, again, it was in, the only way to access that was being able to right click and then hit create issue, or I had to hit C on my keyboard to do that. Now it has its own certain button right here. So if I click that button, this is where I can access our collaborative annotations. So essentially what this is going to do is now I can, during a project review, if we're using Enscape, I can create different issues. Again, this is still the same functionality like it was in 2.9. It's just now moved into the Enscape window. So everything still functions the same. So creating an issue is still, I'm going to hit create issue, title it test, give it a description. I'll say please. It'll take a screenshot, and then I'll still hit the create button. This is going to either save it to the project. So if I'm working across different, if I'm collaborating, I can hit save to the local file. These issues will save in here. I can even save it out as a BCF file, pass that off to my other designer or my other coworker. He can import that. Or for users that are using BIMtrack, you have the option to switch it to BIMtrack, and you can sync your issues with BIMtrack as well and view them in BIMtrack. We also have the option up here to change the status of that. So again, still the same functionality as in 2.9, but now it's just accessible over here. The BIM mode, again, still the same functionality. Button's just moved over here. So to access that, I would just hit the BIM information button, or you can see I hit B on my keyboard and it pulls up all the BIM information about whatever object I'm clicking on. So you can see here over on the left-hand panel, this is pulling all the BIM information from our properties palette in Revit about what these objects are. Again, very useful. We're going to look at this view management tab here in the video editor here in a little bit. So to close that, one big thing to note is take screenshot button. So this is essentially to produce a render. This was back in the design application. So in this case, it was in the Revit window. This is where it's moved to now. So this is where we have our screenshot. Again, create renderings. We have our batch rendering. Another way is specific to Revit. We have this render into documents, render image in document. This stayed over here in the design application because this will essentially take a render and produce it over here in our renderings section of our Revit project. So we can see here, that's where the screenshot, oh, don't want to do that. Over in right here, here's where we have our mono and stereo for panoramas. That's where we can generate the 360 panoramas, the QR codes, and those are all be popped back over to our manage uploads browser right here. And we have our executable files. So we have our exe file and our web standalone. These are essentially where I can take my whole Enscape project and bundle all that up. I can navigate around, I can change the time of day, I can go to certain view setup, and I can pass that off to a client, a customer, and then they can navigate around just like we're doing. The only thing they're going to lose is the ability to have that live link between Revit. So whatever I'm changing in Revit, whether it's materials, editing the model, it's going to update in Enscape. They're just going to lose that ability because it's not tied to, the link is essentially severed. It's not going to be there. So off on the right-hand side now, we have our mini map. So this is a great way where we can navigate around our model. So whatever spot I click to in my model or on my mini map, this is where it's going to take me. I can make this bigger or smaller if I need to. I can close that. Another really useful feature, again, this was still in 2.9, but it didn't have its own button, and now it does, is this safe frame button. So a lot of times when we were taking renderings, we couldn't see what the final context of the image was going to look like. So if we were trying to do a custom size, like a square image, we couldn't really see what the final image was going to look like. It took a couple extra clicks because we had to enable safe frame, go back to Revit, hit take screenshot, and then it was going to ask me, do I want to take this render? Am I sure? And then if I wasn't sure, I could frame up the shot. Now I could have this on at all times. I could frame up I can know exactly how my shot is going to look. This is especially useful if we're trying to do custom ones. So if I want to do a 1080 by 1080 square image or, a more vertical image, this is exactly what is going to be shown in that final output of our render, which is very useful. It keeps me working fast. I don't have to sit here and switch back and forth, do some guesswork. I can just enable it here and keep working. Again, I'll put this back to 1920. And I can simply toggle that off. Over in our different perspective modes here, this was again a little floating window that was about somewhere up in here in the Revit or the Enscape interface. Now I have my own little button for the different selection modes. So I can do perspective, which I'm currently in. I can do 2-point perspective. And again, if I forget what those are doing, I can just hover over these and it'll tell me exactly what they're going to do. So it's going to keep all the vertical lines vertical. Orthographic mode will give me a nice orthographic diagrammatic look to it. Another really cool feature that we can do in here is with the ability to utilize our standard views. So we can hit on our number pad here, we can hit 8, 5, 4, 6, and 2. And this will give us the front, back, top, left, and right. And again, if I hold down right mouse click and whatever I click on and just rotate, it's going to rotate around. It's going to lock it to whatever I rotate around. So this is where we can do a really nice diagrammatic look, nice orthographic mode. Do keep in mind that once you're in orthographic mode, it will put a white background over it. So if you do run into an issue where you can't see your background image, more than likely check the orthographic mode first to see if it's there. Just a little helpful tip. So the different navigation modes as well. We have walk mode and fly mode. Again, these were a little transparent over here in the far right corner, but now they have their own little button. So the difference between the two is still the same. It's when you're in fly mode, you can fly through walls, you can fly through anything like that, kind of like your Superman. And whereas you're in walk mode, it will automatically set up colliders for everything in the scene still, to where you can't walk through walls. You can only walk through things that are deemed a door set up in your project. And still the VR headset button is still functioning the same. It's just now over in the Enscape window. So if I had my VR headset set up, I could hit this button right here, this enable VR, and I'm automatically going to be put into VR. And wherever I'm moving my head would be mimicking what's on the screen right here. This is a great way to show your customers and fully immerse them in a true one-to-one scale model of what their building is going to look like. It breaks a whole new barrier for them seeing their model and experiencing like this. And the really powerful feature is whatever you're changing in Revit or Rhino or SketchUp, it's going to instantly be reflected over in Enscape, and they're instantly going to be able to see that. So if you're, again, changing materials, editing the walls, or editing the floor plan, it's going to instantly be visible for them in VR at a one-to-one scale. And another big one is our render window settings. So this was hidden in our general settings tab back in Revit. So when you launch Enscape for the first time, or just even Enscape in general, you're going to see the splash screen that's popped up. So we can fully customize this. So again, this was still in this was still in the previous versions, but now we have a preview window of what this is going to look like. Well, why is this important? Well, if we give our customers an executable file, this is where we can do some marketing. We could do some subtle marketing. So we can replace this image right here with whatever image we want. So say I'm working on a project, I'm going to send an executable to a customer. I can change the loading screen to whatever I want. So say I'm in that project, I did a very nice rendering that I'm really proud of. Once they launch that executable file, this is the first image that they're going to see. And then you can also put some text in there, calling it the project name. We can even change the title up here. So I can say, this is the architecture sample project. So I can call it architecture sample project. I can even change the icon. So now I can put their company logo or my company logo. And also this is where you have the ability to put watermarks in there. So what I mean by watermarks is you can watermark the executable file, or you can watermark Enscape in general. So again, this is still something that was in the previous versions, but now it has its own tab over here for further customization. So again, I can turn all these off. And then also we have the different input settings here. So we have spectator height, we have the speed, we have a 3D stereo TV, et cetera, et cetera. So those are the ones that are in the Enscape window now. Back in Revit, again, we talked about the render into document. That stayed there. The asset library stayed here because this is all stuff that we're going to be placing inside of the Revit model, or again, any other design application. All these ones that you see here are going to be the same across the board. So again, for SketchUp, ArchiCAD, Rhino, Vectorworks, and Revit. Here's where the Manage Upload button still is. The Play Sound Source file is still here. Our General Settings tab still stayed there. This is just where it's going to be some more performance settings, where you get your network settings and where you can check your licenses. So if you have a floating license or a fixed seat, this is where you can check all the information about that license that's being used. If you run into a crash with Enscape or anything like that, hitting the feedback button will allow you to, I have this going to my coworker here. Normally this would be defaulted to support@enscape3d.com. You can provide what happened and then some information about what happened. And if you have these include log files, this will help us determine what the issue is and how to get you a better response, or how to work to resolve the issue much faster for you. So definitely have that button checked. All right. So those are where all the buttons are at. Those are where they all move to. So let's go back and look at the visual and view management settings here. So under view management, previously this was only accessible in a design application. It still is. You could still see these different views here, but it's just laid out a lot easier inside of Enscape now. I can still create a view. Before there was a button that was called Create View in Revit. Now I can do all this within here, inside of Enscape. So what I mean by this is, let's get to a spot over here. So let's get a nice shot looking here. So I can hit this Create View button right here. I'm going to call this Porch. I'm going to hit Enter to create. We'll talk about this linked presets view here in a second. So now I can go to the living, or I can go to Porch and notice, here, let me split screen for a second. Typically, I would have Enscape open on one window and Revit open on another window, but for presentation purposes, I'm just gonna have it split screen like this. So we can see here that view that I created, this Porch view, that is now a 3D view over here in Revit. So now I can sit here and switch between the different views here, and whatever geometry is showing or visible is going to be shown inside of the view management over here in between these different views. So I'll go back to the 3D view here. So very powerful, very intuitive to use. It's very fast, and again, I can stay within inside of the Enscape window. So I talked about the visual presets. So let's talk about the visual presets now. So under the visual settings tab here, this is where we can adjust anything that's dealing with the look and feel of the image. So this is where we have our main settings here. So this is where we can go to a couple different rendering modes. So we can turn the whole model white. We can go to polystyro mode, gives it more of a waxy foam core look. Where we have this light view, where it's basically overlaying a heat map of our model. So it's showing what our model is going to look like at all times of day with the sun where it is. So now we can get a pretty good accurate representation of where some of our hotspots are in the model. So let's say I want to keep that the way it is. I like that view. I really like what's going on here. So let me go back to normal here. I'm going to first create a new preset. So say I want to do that light preset. So I'm going to call it light view. Keep in mind, it's going to automatically save whatever view you're in. So now I'm in the light view preset. So now I'm going to go to that light view. And again, I like where this is at here. So I'm going to now go back to my view management tab here. And I'm going to, let's say I want the solar analysis to have that view. So now I can go over here to light view and I can hit save. And now again, if I click on solar analysis, it's going to exactly put whatever presets I have set up in there. Let's try and set up another one here. So again, I'm going to create a default preset that I want to apply to every view. So if I know for my company, I want this look and feel for every render to start off with, I'm going to create a new one. I'm going to call this default. And then I'm just going to apply those to each one. So I'm going to say, this is going to be my default, save. The approach I want to do something different with. And this one I'm going to keep the same. So these ones I'm going to make individual ones for. So let's say I want to create one just for white mode. I can go over to white mode here. Since I'm in the white mode tab right here, I can go white mode. Let's do white mode. I want to give this a little bit more of a cartoony look. So now I can turn up these outlines here. I can see exactly what this is doing. And let's just say from the approach, I want this one to be the white mode. I'm going to hit save. And then let's say from the yard, I want this one to be the same too for white mode. And now what if I want to have a really nice shot that I want to frame up? So let's go inside of here. Let's say I want to focus on this chair right here. So I'm going to go to create a new preset. I'm going to call this chair view, or I'm just going to call this chair. So over here in our chair, I can do some really nice things. I can adjust the field of view. So what this is going to do is this is going to start to mimic how a camera works. So this is going to, if I turn it to 52, we'll get that framed up there, and then I can adjust this depth of field. So what this is going to do is this white line, if I turn autofocus off, this focal point, this white line, whatever is not in that white line is going to be blurred. So we can see right here the focus is on this part of it, and I can turn down the depth of field. And now let's say, what if I want to add in something in the background, like some background images? I can go over here to our sky tab, and instead of white background, I want to make it a really nice mountain scene. So now I have some white mountains in the background here. Again, so this is being saved automatically. I'm in the chair mode right here. And I'm going to say, I'm going to create a new view off this one. Chair view. I'm going to link this to the view. So I'm going to call this chair and save. So again, I'm going to go back to my default presets, and now I can sit here and toggle between all of the different presets that I have set up. So now I can do different types of presentation, moods, looks, and feels, all within inside of the Enscape Viewer, which is very, very powerful to start doing rapid studies, rapid different iterations. So now you can see exactly how things are going to look per shot. Back over in our output tab as well, this is where you would set the resolution for how you want that final image to look. So currently it comes default at 1920 by 1080. I can change that to Ultra, to 4K as well. And also I can set it to whatever file format I want. All right, next up, the video. Let me get that back to, I don't want that view. I want it back to my default view. So now the video editor is essentially still functioning the same. It just has a whole new UI overhaul. So let me just get the full screen going here. So over in the video editor, if I hit V on my keyboard instead of hitting K, this now pops me over in our video editor. So again, it's still going to function the same. It just has a new UI overhaul. So to still place a keyframe, I'm still going to hit the K button on my keyboard. So I'm going to hit K. We can see it placed a keyframe, or I can place keyframes here. So keep in mind, I placed my first keyframe. So if I hit this keyframe, this is going to start pushing the keyframes, or start adding keyframes after that first one. But I like to navigate around and position my camera how I want. I'm going to hit the plus button right here. And now if I move, you can see what this is doing. So this is still drawing our camera path here. To get into each camera to see what each one is going to look like, it's still the same. So now I can simply click in the camera. I can position it how I want. I can still show my grid lines and really frame up that shot on how I want it to look. To get out of there, to get out of it, I'm going to just hit that exit keyframe button. And now right here is our total duration. So I'm going to set this to be 30 seconds because I want to produce a 30-second animation. And notice down here in our timeline, this is where it's saying 30 seconds. So again, that's the total duration of our animation. So say I like where this one's at, and I can hit still preview. So now this is going to preview what we're doing. Notice it looks a little shaky. That's because I have shaky cam enabled. So this is going to give it a preview that we're walking essentially. So if I go back, I can uncheck shaky cam preview. So now it's going to give me a nice smooth look. Ease in, ease out is still the same. It's going to ease into one keyframe and then ease out of the keyframe instead of being a hard transition out. Now let's say I want to add something else in between there. Like I wanted to raise up a little bit. I could either click in between here, and this is where the plus button will be highlighted, or I can, anywhere along my path here, I can click, and now I'm inside that camera. So keep in mind, any movements you make are going to be what that camera is doing. So say I want it to go right here, and I want it to be raised up a little bit. I'm going to hit update, and then I can exit the keyframe. And now I can see my camera path is being updated right here. A really cool thing that we can also do is set the time of day for each keyframe. So I'm going to click in here. I'm going to set the time of day right here. So currently it's at 1 o'clock. Let's go to, let's have it be at 7:30 a.m. I click the checkbox, and we can see down here now on our timeline, we can see what adjustments are being made to each keyframe and at what spot. I'm going to hit update. I'm going to go to this keyframe. Let's say I'm going to manually do this. I'm going to say I want this to be 12:30 p.m. I'm going to hit update, and I'm going to go to my last keyframe. I'm going to hit the time of day. Then I'm going to say I want this to be 6:30 in it. We'll say that. And I can hit update, and now I can preview my nice little time lapse I have going here. So we can see the time of day is changing. My camera is going to start to raise up here because it's getting close to my second keyframe in the middle. And I can hit stop. So that's how I can preview my animation. If I like what I have going on, and I'm really happy with this now what I can do, instead of going back over to the visual settings tab or back into Revit or the design application to produce a video, I can just simply do that right here in the export button. So I can do that all with inside the video editor now. So this is where I can set the different type of resolution. Again, if I need a custom size or if I need to go a little bit bigger, I have that ability. The compression quality, I still have those options down here. It comes default at 1920 by 1080 with maximum compression quality and 30 frames a second, which is just fine. But no, the option is to go higher to 60 or 120. Do note when you do that, render times are going to increase. So, and then I can simply hit export, and then that will export the final image or export the final movie as a nice MP4 file. So that's the new overhauled that's the new UI overhaul for the video editor. Last up, what we're going to look at is the asset library. So let me change the time of day back to something. All right, so over here in our asset library, it's still going to function the same, except, nope, it's popping up over here. So here is our asset library. This is where it's still laid out the same. This is where you can find some of the new assets. So in our vegetation tab, we could scroll down, we could see a list of, currently we're sitting at 2,470 assets. So to apply these, for those that don't know, so I would simply just find one I like, click, and start placing my trees all the way around my model. And instantaneously, there's my brand new trees. One other really nice feature that it's not new to 2.9, but it's a cool little trick, is the ability to link Revit assets or Revit families to Enscape assets. So in the furniture tab, I'm going to find this nice chair. So let's go over here quick. Again, this is not new to 3.0, but it's still very nice. Little tip to notice about the assets. So a lot of times it might be hard to model a really high poly or really nice looking Revit family. So with Enscape, we've already done that. We've already modeled these really, really nice looking assets that are going to accurately respond to light and look more realistic. So, but they don't have the BIM information like the Revit family does, just like here. So what we can do is we can go down, check this little three dots right here, and I can hit link Revit family to asset. So I'm going to go over here, find my asset. So it's called Seating Artemis. Seating Artemis here. So I can click OK. And now it's still going to display in Revit as this nice piece of furniture. It still has all the BIM information. It's still going to schedule correctly, still print just fine. But in Enscape, it's going to display as this nice high quality chair. And that can happen for any of these assets in here. We have a category for vehicles. We even have a new Tesla Cybertruck, which is really cool. But so this is where you can find all these assets. And one little tip, if you guys are seeing this load pretty fast on my machine here, it's because I have this offline Enscape assets checked. So by checking that box, what that is going to do is that is going to enable the download of all these assets to your local machine. It's about 3 gigs. So, but by doing that, it's automatically pulling it from your computer instead of our servers. So if you guys are experiencing a little performance issues where it's taking a long time to load each one of these, you can simply just click that button and again, it'll cache it to your machine. And if you don't, for some reason, see one that you don't like in here, you do also have the option as well to still create your own custom assets, where you can find them from different websites like TurboSquid or CG Trader. And then you can create some nice ones yourself if you don't see any that you like in here. So that was an overview of the new 3.0. That's where all the buttons were laid at, a couple of tips and tricks. And for that, we can open up to, I'll stop showing my screen here. All right. If you want to download a free trial, you can go to you can get in touch with everybody over at NavEdge. And now let's open up for questions. If anybody has any questions.
Thank you so much, Josh. That you made it look too easy. Now we have one question.
Absolutely.
So is there a way to record the video of a VR user session in Enscape?
Is there a way to record a video of a VR session? So great question. Currently not. That is a feature that has been requested before. So, and that is something that we're definitely looking at. A workaround right now would just be to record the screen, because once you go into VR, whatever is being seen through the headset is going to be seen in that Enscape Viewer. So you're going to get a preview of what you're actually seeing in the VR. So that could be a workaround in the meantime.
Okay. I hope that will answer. We're sticking around a few more minutes, so a question about this webinar. Can I see this webinar later? Yes, you can, because I've been recording it and I will be posting it on our YouTube NoVeg channel. Just search for NoVeg and the webinar will be there as early as this afternoon. So as I was saying, we're sticking around a few minutes for questions, so don't be shy. This is your chance to really talk to somebody who knows everything about Enscape, which is not me. I know some, but not a lot. So what I'm going to do, though, I'm going to switch to my screen because I want to show you where you can find Enscape on the NoVeg catalog. Just go to noveg.com, search for Enscape. You can find Enscape. You can find Revit, Vectorworks, and you don't have to go shop around. It's a one-stop shop. We make it very easy for you to get your software as quickly as possible and seamlessly as possible. So check us out at noveg.com. Josh, I don't see any other question. As I said, you made it look too easy, and now there's, it was too, yeah.
I hope I didn't lose
no
anybody.
complication. No complications. So good. As I will say it again, for this recording, just go to the Noveg YouTube channel. Thank you, Daniel. Daniel, do you want to add something today?
No, I really appreciate you hosting the webinar. It's always a joy to talk with you and the Noveg customers. It's a great resource. So I encourage people to go to the Noveg site and check Enscape out.
Thank you, and have a great rest of the day, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. Bye-bye. Thanks for having us.